Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In this tutorial we are going to be creating a very nice application which is a dictionary app. So this dictionary app, we are going to be using an API called Free Dictionary API, and the Free Dictionary API we are going to be using retrofit to communicate as a medium to the web server, to the API, and we are going to be using just retrofit is okay for the communication. So we are going to be, if you check this API now, if I run it on this point, you can see the API has an array and an object of response. So let's look at the app that we are going to be building in general. This app, whenever you enter any words, it will just give you the meaning from the API. It's a dictionary application. So let's run the app and see what we are going to be building. So when this app opens, you just click anywhere to stop the progress bar, the progress dialog. So let's search for word now from this app. Let's search for coding. Let's click on the search. Whenever I get the response, it will stop the progress dialog. So one thing about this app is that the app will bring out the phonetics for the word, the meaning, the synonym and the antonyms. It will bring it up for you if there is an antonyms and synonym for that word. Then you can click on it for it to pronounce the phonetics for you. So let's click it. So you can hear it as it pronounces the coding for you, the phonetics word for the coding. So let's search for the word Android. You can see in science fiction a robot with a human appearance, all those kind of thing. Alright, so let's search for the word Google, the meaning of Google. So when you are searching, it will also tell you fetching data for the type of word that you are searching. Let's search it again. The network was bad. So you can see the word Google. Says search for information about someone or something on the internet using the search engine Google. Google is a search engine. So example word, on Sunday she googled an ex-boyfriend. So you can hear the phonetics. Let's search for the word programming. I hope you'll be very excited to go through this tutorial and create such app. You can upload it to Play Store. So let's search for it. Let's click on the phonetics. You can see programming is pronouncing it programming. So you can even implement ad on it for people to use, and when you upload it, people download it. If you want me to implement AdMob or any other ad network, please comment below and I will add it. So thank you. Let's go into it. Please subscribe to my channel to support me. Like the video, please. I put effort into it to do it. Please help me out by subscribing. I want to get to just 100 subscribers. I'll be very happy. Thank you. Like, share with your friends. Let's begin. So let's create a new project in Android Studio. we're using empty activity. Let me go back. I made a mistake. Right. Let me just cancel it and come back again. So we're using an empty activity. So let's call this application dictionary application. If I'm not that fast, please, there's an option in the on YouTube that you can fast forward the video for it to be fast enough. So let's name our application dictionary app. We're going to call it online. Let's still call it dictionary app. So we're using Java. I will keep my API level at 21. I think is okay. So everything is alright. So let's click on finish. A moment while the project build. So we're using the REST API that we discussed about, that we talked about, which is dictionary API.dev. So this API, we are going to get all the information whenever a user type any word. The API will go through the database, maybe Google or any website, to get the information for the user, both as a meaning, phonetics, and example. So let's continue. So the first thing we are going to do is to get some dependency, because the fact that we are going to connect to an internet and we are going to be using a REST API, we need a medium which we'll use to communicate between our Android application and the internet, or the API. So we are going to be using Retrofit for the web service medium, and I think Retrofit is okay. So there's some dependency. So if you go to Google and search for Retrofit, you can get it. Yes, you can get the dependency, but I'm going to provide everything at the description of the video. So we also need to use a JSON converter also, and I'll be using, for the facts that I'm using Android Studio 4.0, I would like to add Android X material design. So I have all my dependency here. Never mind that I'm using compile, I'm also adding this compile option, version source compatibility version Java version 8, is because I have lambda effect in my Android Studio. So if I don't add this option on my dependency, I will have problem communicating with the backend or with the API. So I'm going to copy all this, which is the retrofit dependency, and the JSON dependency, and also the material dependency. So I'll just copy all of them and come to my Android Studio and paste it. So I'll go to my build or Gradle, come down. This one is not supposed to be here, so let me remove it from here. For you don't need to paste this, you don't need to use this dependency, because if you are not using lambda effects, in Java, you don't need this. So let's sync our project. So the next thing we are going to do is to add internet permission. So we say use permission internet, I think everything is okay at this point, except that we are still waiting for our project to finish syncing. Alright, never mind this error that I'm having. I know the way I installed my Android Studio. I installed the revision 30 on Android Studio 4.0, which is supposed to have 31 as of currently for Android Studio 4.1 or 4.2. So let me just make my changes. Never mind. Yours, you will not have this error, but if you have, you can still comment below so that will help you correct it. So that is it. So let's create our UI for our main activity. So the first thing we are going to do is we are using screw view. So I'm going to remove this constraint layout. And I'll use screw view. So the next thing I need to do, I'll remove this text view. So I will set it as match parent, wrap contents. I'll give orientation of vertical. So we're going to use a card view. I'll set it as match parent. Then I will set the height as wrap contents. So let me just expand this. So I need other information for this card view. I'll set the margin layout as 16 dp. So the next thing I need to set is corner radius. I will make it 8 dp. So what next? We need a background color. So let me set some colors that I'll be using in this tutorial. I'll go to my res folder, I'll go to value, then go to colors. So what I need here is that I just need few colors. So let me change my primary color and my accent color. So the primary color, I'm going to set it as 292D 36. The next one I'm going to set here, a moment please. Alright, this will just be black. So why the accent color, I'll make it 03 DA. I think it's good to use capital letters. C5. So let's come to the next colors. So I'm going to set color name black. So this black color, I'm going to just set the same thing as 292 D36. Oh yeah, so I'm going to set another color. Sorry for the capital letter. This color, I will name it as color black. I think that color is good. Let me set the black here. So I will set it as white. Let's set the X code for white. I think that is okay. So let's go to our layout. So what do we need here? We need to set the background color. Card background color white. So with the way it is, I think it's okay. Let's go to the next thing. So we need a search view. So this search view is where the user type in words and it will search from the API and give the results. So we are going to be using search view Android X. We set it as match parent. We set the layout as, I think the layout height should be, please just follow as I'm going to type, follow along. I will set it as question ATRO / action bar size. So the next thing is iconify feed by default. We set it to false. Then what next? Let's set default query hints as search word. So this is what will be shown. As you can see, is showing. So you can see from our design the way it is now. So what are we going to do next? What are we going to do? We are going to leave the card view and come down below the card view and set another linear layout. We set the linear layout as match parent. We set the height as wrap content. So let's just close it. So we are going to set the margin as 16 dp. We are going to set the orientation to be vertical. So looking at it, I think it's okay. So what are we going to do next here is that we're going to bring in text view. We're going to bring in text view. We set the text view as match parent, wrap content. Let's close this text view. I think I'll type the rest because all these are things that are very simple to understand. So let me type them out. So I think for the text view is okay. So let's proceed to bring in our recycler view to display all the phonetics. So the next thing we are going to do here is, the next thing in line is the text view. So we have set the word, we have set the phonetics as a recycler view. So remaining the text view, let's bring in text view. Again, this text view is going to be meaning, then we bring in recycler view for meaning. So looking at our UI, I think everything is alright. So let's just run the app to see how it is. Let's run the app to see how it is. My emulator is just coming up, so we're going to wait for a while. So in the next video, we are going to be creating our list item. We are going to be creating item list to display the meaning, the phonetics, the meaning and the phonetics. So you can see the way it is. You notice that in the app we have it like this, but in the studio we have it as Wells and Recyclerview next, meaning Recyclerview under. Here you cannot see the Recyclerview, as you all know that some data need to be on a Recyclerview because before it can be visible. So in the next video, we are going to proceed to create our list of items and adapters and models, whereby we'll link each other in order for the data to be displayed on our main activity. So see you in the next video. So let's proceed to create the first thing that we need to create. I think we should create our model class before proceeding further to create our list of items, so that we know the kind of data that we need on the list of items. So we are going to create a new package. So we call this package models, because our models is not going to be 1 or 2. So let's first of all look at the API to know how our model is going to be. So from the API, we have seen that the API is in an array of objects. So let me just take this API here and open it on another browser so that you will see it better for yourself. So looking at the API, you can see that we have an array of objects. The first object contain wells. We have wells, we have phonetics, we have wells, we have phonetics. So let's go by the main. From the documentation, we have wells, we have phonetics, and this phonetics is has an array of objects. And if you check from our response here, we have phonetics. Let's just minimize this. So if you look at the response, we have wells, which is a hello that we entered from the browser, and we have phonetics. We are not going to use this phonetic, so we are going to be using this phonetics, which is an array. We are going to be using meaning, which is also an array of objects. So if you check from the documentation, this wells here, hello, the phonetics is an array, the meaning is an array. So let me show you how we are going to write this model. So the first thing we are going to do, we create our first model class, we call it API response. Now this API response, which is linking the data from the API, is going to have words, phonetics, meaning, words, phonetics, and meaning. So the first thing here is words. So the word is going to be in string, so we name it as word. So I want you to name it as it is from the response. So the next thing, we need to create phonetics, but this phonetics now is an array, so we cannot just write it as a string. It needs to be in a list. Therefore, we need to create its own model again for the phonetics. So I will go to our model. We'll create a new model class. We are going to call it phonetics. Now this phonetics has its own array of objects, which is text and audio. The text is a string, the audio is a string. So we need to create some string in this phonetics. So we create string text and string audio. So we are going to create our getters and our setters. So I just right click it. I just press Alt Insert on my keyboard and I got to generate and enter getters and setters. So we highlight all of them and click enter. So we come back to the response and we are going to bring in the phonetics as a list. So we set phonetics from the model, from its own model, and we set it as phonetics. Now remember that this phonetics here must be the same thing as it is on the response. Must be the same thing. Never mind if this one here is different. This one can be different, no problem, but this must be the same with the response. So let's proceed further. We need to create meaning. And remember that I told you that meaning is also an array of objects. So meaning is going to have its own model class before we bring it into the API response. So let's create a model class for meaning. You can name it anything here, no, is okay. But when you are bringing it into the API response, it must be the same thing. The objects, each object must be the same thing as it is on the browser, on the response. So let me show you what I'm saying. Here I name it meaning as a model. So as a model I name it meaning. So what do I need in this meaning model class? I need part of speech and I need definitions. Now remember that definition also has its own array of objects. So let's bring in the part of speech first. So for not making mistake, I'm going to just copy it from here. I'm going to the meaning. I'll set it as a string, paste it. So the next thing I need here is the definition, which is an array of objects under meaning. So I need to create another list, another model for definitions. So we are not done with meaning before we proceed to bring it into API response yet. So we need to create another model class. We call it definitions. So these definitions has his own object, which is definition and example. So definition is an object, is a string, example is a string. So we need to name it as it is from the response. So I'll just copy it from here and go to my Android Studio, paste it. So the next thing I need here is examples. Example is a string also. Remember, it must be the same. The spelling must be as it is from the browser. So now we have definition models on its own. So we can now bring it into the meaning model as a list. So here we'll now set it as definitions. Remember that it must match with the one on the response. So on the response, it is called definitions. So in the Android Studio, it must be definition. So I think if you check here, our meaning model is okay. We have part of speech as a string and model as an array of objects. So our meaning is complete. So we can now bring the meaning into the API response. So the API response now, if you check from our response that we have words, phonetics, and meanings. So we bring the meaning model. Please, if you don't understand, comment below and I will just write the explanation to your reply from the comments. So I will bring in the list of meaning as a list. I'll set it as meanings. So let's check if it is spelled as meanings or just meaning. It is spelled as meanings. So that is alright. So looking at it, I think our model class is ready, but there's something that we have not done. Let's go through it one after the other. From the API response here, we have string, words as a string, list of phonetics as phonetics, list of meaning as meaning. So we need to create the getters and the setters. If you don't understand my shortcut for creating the getters and the setters, I think I should just do it as the normal way. In the normal way, so I will left click on my mouse and click on generate, then click on getters and setters, highlight all and click OK. So I've created the getters and setters for my API response, which has the words as a string, meaning as a list, phonetics as a list, and meaning as a list. And the phonetics as a list. If you check from the phonetics, you have phonetics as its own array of objects, which is text and audio, and we have created the getters and the setters for it. So the next thing is the meaning. So the meaning now has its own string, part of speech as a string, list of definitions, definition as a list, which has its own object, which is definition and example, as it is from the response. Definitions and examples. So we need to create getters and setters for these definitions. So I think I've shown you how to do it in the normal way. Let me continue with my shortcut. Alt insert. So the next thing is to create getters and setters for the meanings. Meaning has part of speech and definitions as a list. So I think our model lists, they are all ready. So the next thing we need to create here, we need to create our UI, just our list of items for the phonetics, the meanings, and the definitions. So let's go to the rest folder. We'll go to the layouts. We right click on it. The first thing we should create here is, let me check, phonetics before meaning. Phonetics before meaning. So I'll right click and create a new layout. I'll call it phonetics list. Phonetics underscore list. I'll click on OK. So let's design the phonetics list of items so that we can create adapter for them. So here I'm going to be using a card view from the layout. The layout is going to be a card view. So I'm going to set some properties for this card view. So I'm going to be making the height to be wrap content. So I'll be setting the margin as 4 dp. I'll set the corner radius to be 8 dp. Now what do we need next? I will set card elevation to be 8 dp. Please, these properties that I'm listing out, if you don't understand, please comment below and I will explain the meaning of this corner radius, card elevation for better understanding. At this point, I expect you to know all these ones because this is not our main focus. Our focus is to get a response from an API and bring it into our Android app to create a standard application for usage. So the next thing, we are going to proceed to create a linear layout. Now this linear layout is going to have phonetics as a text and is going to have an image button as an audio. So when the phonetics will be written, so you click on the audio button, it will pronounce it for you. Hope you understand. So let's proceed. We set the layout as match parent. We set the height as wrap contents and we close it. So we are going to set the margin to be 4 dp. So let's bring in those texts that we needed. Those texts that we need. Before we proceed to bring in the text, let's set this background as color white. The text view is going to be, the width is going to be 0 dp. While the height, I'm going to set it as wrap content. Then I'm going to set a weight of 1. because they are going to occupy. Why I set a weight of 1 is that the layout of the app is going to be divided into 2, while the text will be on one side, will occupy from the half to the end, while the audio button will occupy from the middle also to the end. So that's why we are setting weight of 1 while width of 0. So we need to set the text size as 18 sp. So I'm going to be giving this my text view an ID of text view underscore phonetics. Please, this spelling that I spelled is not the correct spelling for any phonetic word, but just manage it. The phonetic of hello is not written this way, but just bear with me. The app is going to give you the correct one after the completion. I think that is okay. So let's bring in the image button. The image button is going to have also width of 0 dp, and height of wrap content, a weight of 1, I will set background to be white, but you can use transparent. My Android Studio doesn't have that, but I think yours that you are using right now should have. So I'm going to give it, please don't be offended that I'm using Android Studio 4.0. This is my reason for using it is because the latest version of Android Studio, I noticed it has a bug, so I tried fixing it. It looks difficult for me, although if I give it time I can do it, but instead of taking my time I decided to roll back to the previous version. So I will give it IMG BTN. So I need to give it a source so that it will display. I need to give it an image vector for it to show something as a sign that is an audio button. So I will give it an image asset of, forgotten the name of this, I think it should be play. No. Sound. Voice. Yes, voice. Volume. So it will be black. So looking at it, everything is okay. So the next thing we are going to go further to create is the meaning list. So this meaning list is going to have a text view to show the meaning of word, and it's going to have a recycler view to show the definitions. So I'm using card view. So my card viewer is going to have some properties. These properties are just almost the same with the previous list of items that we created. So let's bring in, we set a card, a corner radius of 8 dp, margin top 8 dp, background card color white. Then we make the height to be wrap content. So I think this is okay. So we set the card elevation to be 8 dp. So we are going to wrap our two edit text, our edit text and our recycler view. We are going to wrap them in a linear layout. So let's bring in the linear layout. We set it as match parent and wrap content. We set the orientation to be vertical. So our text view is going to have a property of match parent and an height of wrap content. It's going to, let me bring in some property which you are familiar with. Never mind, whatever I set there is just a placeholder. So the recycler view is going to have match parents and a wrap contents. So we give it an idea of recycler definitions. Now, there's a surprising thing here that you need to take note of, is that in this list view, in this list of items, there's a recycler view. Why are we using recycler view? Check from the API. We have a meaning and we have a list of, the meaning has array of objects, which is part of speech, and I think this is what I was trying to write there. Let me check very well. Exclamation. So the meaning has an array of part of speech and definition, and the definition is a list of objects also, of array of objects. So that's why our definition is having recycler view inside an item list, which is like a new thing in this type of in an app. So maybe you must have seen it before. So what are we going to do next? We have gotten meaning list, we have gotten a definition list. Now, being that our definition has its own recycler view, so we need to create a list of items for our definition also, because all these things that the meaning is a list which has its own recycler view. If you check from the main activity here, you can see that we have recycler view for phonetics, recycler view for meaning. That's where we are creating list of items for phonetics and list of items for meaning. But the fact that inside our meaning list of meanings, we have another array of objects which is having a recycler view. So we need to also create a list of items for it. So we are going to create a list of items for the definitions. So let's right click on our layout, create a new linear layout, a new layout. We call it definition list. So this definition list needs to have a definition and example and an example. So let's go back to it. We are going to also set it as, we are going to use a layout of Recyclerview. I mean a card view. So our card view is going to have match parents as a width, but the height is going to be a wrap content, because we don't want it to cover the whole layout. So our card view is going to have some properties, as you all know. So if you want me to explain all these things, I will create a video for it. If you request it from the comments, then I will do so. So this our definition is going to have, if you check from the API, the definition is going to have definition example and synonym and antonyms. definition, example, synonym and antonyms. So look at the response from here. Definitions, example, synonyms and antonyms. And the synonym is an array. The antonyms is an array. Although we didn't create a model for this synonym and antonyms because it doesn't have any object in it. It's just empty. So there's a way we are going to bring them into the Recyclerview adapter. So you are going to see something. You are going to see something different from other tutorials that you are going through or other apps that you are developing. So the first thing we need here is from the definition list, we need definitions. We'll set a linear layout first. We set it to be match parent and the height to be wrap content. Then we close it. Inside of it, we need to have text view for, as I have mentioned. So let me start writing them because they are what you know. So we just need to copy this one and paste it for the next one. I forgot to set the orientation to be vertical. Now we have meaning and we have definitions, we have meaning, but the definition, okay, we have definition, we have example, we have synonym and antonyms, but the synonym here is not going to have an ID, so nothing is going to be displayed on it. It's just going to be as it is, synonyms. Then is the next text view that we are going to display something. So here we are not going to write anything. Text will be null, while here we'll now give it a definition of synonyms, an ID of synonym. The text style is going to be italic. So I think everything is alright. We need antonyms. So for the antonyms, we are going to just copy these two text view for the synonym and the antonym. For the synonyms, we need these two text view for the antonyms. So here we change this one to antonyms. While here we are going to change the ID to be antonyms. TXT antonyms. Alright, so our definition lists of items are ready. So I think in the next video we are going to continue with the rest. See you on the next video. So guys, let us run our app and see the way it is. I think our app is not going to work because we need to create an adapter to link this list of items to the Recyclerview on the main menu. Then we'll now bring, when we create list of adapters to link to connect, have connection between the list of items and the main menu, we'll now bring the adapters into the main activity to finally link it with the Recyclerview on the main activity, on the main activity.xml. So let's proceed to create our adapters. So we are going to create a new package. We are going to call it adapters. So inside our package, we are going to create a class. We'll call it, the first one will be, let's check from our API. We have phonetics and we have meanings before definitions. So the reason why we are creating this adapter is because there is no link between our list of items and our main activity. So it's the adapter that will link our list of items to the main activity, which is the Recyclerviews. So let's create our adapter. First adapter will be phonetics adapter. So the phonetics adapter is going to extend Recyclerview dot adapters, the first one. Then we now use this symbol and write phonetics adapter dot phonetics view holder. You write it anyhow you like to write it. It's not a predefined constant or variable. So I'll call it phonetics view holder. I extend a Recyclerview adapter. In it, I put the phonetics adapter again dot phonetics view holder, and you can see that we have errors. So we click on it. We are going to first of all click on this and create a class. We are still having error. We click on it, click on the red bulb, then click on implement method. I highlight all the methods and continue. Then click on the red line, click on make class phonetic, extend Android X.Recyclerview and so on. So you come down and also click on the red bulb again, create a constructor matching super. So you have all these methods listed. So the next thing we are going to do now, please, if you don't understand this thing, let me know. All these things that I did here is the way it's supposed to be. All these methods are required. We need a public class of phonetics holder, which we created it from the dot phonetic adapter over here. So this is the class. It extends Recyclerview holder. So inside here, we'll bring in all the we reference all our items, all our text view and Recyclerview from the list of items. We reference them here. Then we'll now here on this point we are going to create a class. Then on this view holder, we are going to link the phonetic list with this view holder here, which onCreate view holder. Then on the bind holder, we are going to we bring in our model class and we set the information from our model class. Gotten from our model class, we set it on the list of items. Then here we return all the size of all the items from the database as a size. That is, you should go through all the items in the database and list them out. So let's start. When we are done with all this, we'll now bring it to the main activity and link it with the Recyclerview on the main activity.xml. So let's begin. So the first thing we are going to do is that we need to create a context. What is the context? Context is considered like if you have main activity.this, for you to reference for you to go through main activity to another activity, you need to write main activity.this, another activity.class. So we need this context to be in that form. It is this context that will help us to link our onCreate holder to bring in the list of items from the phonetics into the onCreate holder for us to be able to use. So it is a context that will give us the permission. So we bring in a context, we set it as context. Then we set private list of phonetics. We need to bring in the list of phonetics from the model class so that we can use them here. So we set it as a phonetic list. So for these two variables, we need to create a constructor for them. So the way I create my constructor, I have a shortcut of Alt Insert, then enter. I will highlight everything. Okay. So our context is ready and our model class as a list has been brought into the adapter. So that's why we have list of phonetics. So before we use them, we need to bring in the phonetic list from here. We need to bring it here into the onCreate holder. So we're going to set a view is equal to layout inflector dot from this context, inflect from this context, which is this adapter, inflect the arrow dot layout, I need to import this arrow, alt enter, import it. So he said that bring a view as an object as a layout inflector from this context. As I told you before bringing in the context, from this context, inflect from arrow dot layout dot list of phonetics, so that to have a link between here and the list of phonetics. So the next thing we are going to set parent and attach to root to be false. We close it with a semicolon. So this layout that we have brought from the list of phonetics in the list that we created here, this layout has been brought into this Recyclerview adapter. It needs to be attached to this view holder before we'll be able to reference all the items. It just like the father need to show it first before the children will follow. So the father need to come into the earth before children will be born. So the father, which is the list of items, need to come into this adapter. So before we bring in all the things that are inside here. So let's bring in the layout first into this adapter by using all this code that we wrote here. So when we wrote all this code, look at what we are going to do next. We are going to return it as new phonetic view holder. We set the view to it. So here we have successfully linked this phonetic list into this place and also link it to the view holder here. So we can bring the children. So because the father has shown up here, which is the list of phonetics. So the father has shown up here and has a connection with this phonetics view holder. So the children can now have access to every resources here. So that's how we will now bring in the children, which is the list of items from the phonetics of list. So we can bring in all the items into this place. Hope you understand. So what do we have in the list of phonetics? We have the text view and we have the image button. So the text view, we are going to set it as text view phonetics, text view underscore phonetics. Then the next thing we'll bring in is image button. We set it as image button play. So let's reference it by the ID. So text view phonetics is equal to item view dot find view by ID, arrow dot ID dot text view phonetics. That is the ID we gave it from the list. So we set another one. Image button play is equal to item view dot find view by ID, arrow dot ID dot img btn. That is what we set as the ID. So we are going to return our phonetic list dot size. Simply means that return all the list of phonetics from the database into the Recyclerview adapter, because it's already stored in the model. So the next thing we are going to do is to bind the model with the text view, with the items in the phonetics, in the list of phonetics which are here. So we are going to bind the model with these items here. So let's do it. So first thing is to say holder, which is this holder here, which is an object of phonetics view holder, dot text view phonetics dot set text. Then we'll just write it as, we'll now bring in the phonetic list dot get phonetic word, get the position of the phonetic word. So we'll set it dot get position of the phonetic text in the model class. Get it from the model class. When you get it from the model class, because this model class is an object of this model class here as a list, so get it and set it to this phonetics as a text. So the next thing is the image button. Now image button and audio cannot be set as a text, and audio need to be set as a media player. So this is how we do it. We say holder dot image button play dot set on click listener, new on click listener, new on click listener. Then inside here we can set the information as a media player, because it's getting it in form of MP3. So we set media player as a media player as an object is equal to new media player then player dot set audio stream type, because set audio stream type because it's getting it from internet. So we set audio manager dot stream music from the internet. So it will get the music from the internet. Now it need to get it from a source. So we say player dot set data source. Where are you getting it from? It's going to get it from HTTPS column, then plus our phonetics, because the audio has been stored in phonetics dot get position of the audio dot get audio. So it will be attached to this HTTPS and set it as an in the audio source. So we'll now set as audio player dot prepare, then player dot start. But if you can see here, we have some errors. we need to set it in a try catch. So if you hover on it, it's telling you that surround it with a try catch block. So we click it for it to be surrounded with a try catch block. But check here, after you surround it with a try catch block, it only surround the player.prepare. So, and the set data source is also telling you to surround it with a try catch. Having multiple try catch in one function, I don't think it's a good idea. So we bring in everything to be in one try catch. Let's do it. So it is done. So we need to just set an error message in case of failure. So we will now set it as could not play audio. Couldn't play audio. So I think we are done with this. So let's go and work on the next thing we are going to work on is the phonetics, the meaning adapter. So let's create another adapter. We call it as meaning adapter. So this meaning adapter is going to extend, the meaning adapter is going to also extend the Recyclerview adapter. Dot adapter, then Recyclerview, then meaning adapter dot, we set it as meaning view holder. So we are having error. So we hover on it and click our red bulb. Say create class meaning view holder. So we hover it again. Implement method. Press OK. We hover it on it again. Make meaning class holder extend there. Alright. So we come to this. We hover on it again. These are all the things that you normally need in a standard Recyclerview adapter. You need all these. So if you follow the step that I'm following, it will be very easy for you. The most important thing is that you need to understand what it does, what all of them does. So the first thing here is that we need to bring in our context. So private context, then private list of meaning from the model class. We set it as meaning list. Then the next thing, we set a constructor for it, alt insert. We highlight everything and press OK. So I think I've explained this from the previous adapter. So I just need to do what I'm supposed to do. So what am I supposed to do? Let me set meaning adapter, meaning list.size. Then the next thing, I'm going to bring in the list of meanings. So I'll set view is equal to layout inflector dot from this context dot inflect arrow dot layout dot meaning list. Then we set it as parent, and the next thing is going to be false. The parent is the view group, then attach to root as false. Then return new meaning view holder and set the view. So here on the view holder recycler, the Recyclerview.view holder, we need to bring in the things in the meaning list. And what we have here, we just have the part of speech and the recycler view. So the part of speech is a text view, while the recycler view is a text view, while the recycler view, the definition is a recycler view. So you are going to see how we are going to do this now. So let's close this phonetics list and adapter. We don't need them. So what we need here now, we need to bring in the text view. We set it as text view what? Let me see. Text view part of speech. Now what is the ID? The ID is text part of speech. But let's bring in the recycler view. What did we call it from there? Recyclerview definitions. Okay, Recyclerview definitions. So we are going to reference them by the ID. So we said text view part of speech is equal to item view dot find view by ID. We set arrow dot ID dot txt part of speech. So we bring in the recycler view. Recycler view definitions is equal to item view dot find view by ID arrow dot ID dot recycler definitions. So let's bring in these two things in the unbind view holder. So we set holder dot text view part of speech dot set text. Then we now say meaning list dot get position of the text in the model dot get part of speech. So now for the recycler view, it's not going to be done that way. Watch how we are going to do the recycler view, but because it's a boss on its own. So we first of all set holder dot Recyclerview definition dot set has fixed size. These are the property of Recyclerview. It should be in a fixed size. True. holder dot Recyclerview definition dot set linear set layout manager. We'll now set it as, please, there's something I forgot to do here. This part of speech, I need to bring in a string and just write parts of speech. Give it a space. So when it displays, we'll know that it's part of speech. Then we'll set the holder dot Recyclerview definition dot set layout manager. We set it as new grid layout. The first thing is for this context, and the second thing is span count to be 1. It should occupy 1. It should not, since it's a grid, if you set it 3, the data will be displayed in 3. That is, it will be in 3 form. It will be, if you set it as 2, it will be considered as a square which will have information 2 coming down, but we want it to come as 1. It's almost equivalent to setting it as a linear view, linear layout. So the next thing we are going to set, we need to define an adapter for the definition, because it's a Recyclerview. You need to have its own adapter before we complete everything that we need to do. So we go to the adapter again and create another adapter for the definition. So we call it definitions adapter. Definition adapter is going to extend a Recyclerview dot adapter, which will have definition which will be definition adapter dot definition view holder. Definition view holder. So we click on it and create class. Again, implement method, press OK. Definition, click on it. See the same thing. So they are okay now. So we need to bring in private context as a context, then private lists as a list of definitions. Okay, the list of definitions, which is definitions lists. So we set constructor, highlight or press OK. So we return definition list dot size. So we are going to bring the definition list from the list here. So in the definition list we have about 4 things. We have definition. Let's check from the response. We have meaning, and inside meaning we have definition. We have a definition, example, synonym and antonyms. So we need to, there's something we forgot to do here. We need to, this definition model need to have the synonym and the antonyms. So inside the definition model, we are bringing it as a list, not a string, because they are array. So this array doesn't have anything in it. Because it doesn't have anything in it, we are going to say list of string synonyms. Ensure that it match with the way it is. See the way it is. I need to copy it. Paste it. So also list of string for antonyms. Copy it, paste it. So we need to create getters and setters for it. So it is done. So let's bind the view. Let's bring in the view from the inflector, layout inflector, dots from this context, dot inflect, arrow dots, layout dots, definition lists, parents, false, return, new, definition holder, view. Then here we need to bring in the things that we need to bring in. Definitions, example, antonyms, synonyms and antonyms. So we say holder dots, holder dots. Wait, we are making a mistake. We need to bring them here first. So the first thing we need here is, let's check. It has, all these are text view. Definitions, meaning, synonym and antonyms. Text view definitions. Text view example. Text view synonym. And text view antonym. So let's check from the API. Definition, example, synonym and antonyms. So I think they are ready. So let's reference it by the ID. Text view definition is equal to item view dot find view by ID, arrow dot ID, arrow dots ID dots txt definitions. Let's check. It's txt definitions. Text view example dot arrow dot id dot txt examples. Then the next thing is going to be the synonyms. Synonyms is equal to item view dot find view arrow dot id dot txt synonyms text view antonyms is equal to item view dot find view by id arrow dot id dot txt antonyms. So everything is okay from there. So let's reference them here. Let's bring them to the bind view, holder. So we say holder dot text view definition dot set text definition plus definition list dot get position of item dot get definitions. Then for the example, holder dot text view example dot set text, we set a string of example also plus definition list dot get position of example get example. So now for the antonyms, since it's not just an ordinary string, we need to use string builder. So we say string builder, we set it as synonym is equal to new string builder then string builder antonyms is equal to new string builder. Then we now set holder dot text view synonyms. We have not reached that point. Let's append the items from the model first. So it says synonyms dot append definition list dot get position of definitions dot get synonyms. Then antonyms dot append definition list dot get position of this dot get antonyms. Then the next thing, we are going to set them to the holder. So we say holder dot text view synonyms dot set text synonyms. Holder dot text view antonyms dot set text antonyms. Holder dot text view synonyms dot set selected true. Holder dot text view antonym dot set selected true. I think we are done with this. So in the next video we are going to bring in all this in our main activity. See you in the next video. So welcome guys. In this video we are going to be creating we'll first of all create a request manager to link between the link is like the link between our app and anything from outside the app through a network. So we are going to be using retrofit as we have added all these dependency before. We will be using retrofit and retrofit converter. So all these things are already there in our Android Studio project. So let's create a request manager to do this work. So we right click and create a new class. We are going to call it a request manager. So all our request is going to be in this class. We call it a request manager. So this request manager, we are going to create a context for it, just like main activity.this. So the next thing, we are going to create a retrofit function for it. A retrofit, we are going to bring in retrofit. We'll set it as retrofit is equal to new retrofit.builder, then new retrofit.builder.base URL. Now what is our base URL? Let me show you. We'll put it in a string. Our base URL is from here down. So that is our base URL. So I'm going to explain this thing very well, just a moment. So this is the base URL. Now if you check on the browser, we have entries and we have a low. Now come to the API. Here you have the rest in here: entry, English, and word. This word is where we input the hello. So what are we going to do here is that we are going to set the base URL first. The base URL is the api.dictionary api.dev/api/version2. So we set it as base URL first. So we set it dot add converter factory, then we bring in the JSON converter factory dot create, then we set it dot build dot build, and that's the end of it. So now the retrofit function has been set for use. So we need to create a constructor for this our context so that we can use it even here and outside of this class. So we generate a constructor for it just for this context and press OK. So what are we going to do next? The next thing we are going to do, when using retrofit, you need to create an interface. An interface is just like a class which is going to get the endpoint. It's going to get the endpoint from the API. So our endpoint from this API now is this entry and the en. So that is our endpoint. Consider something like you are creating a CRUD application using PHP, and you use PHP as a server-side language and you use Java as the Android side. So in the PHP side, you can have something like a CRUD application. You can have something like create.php, update.php, delete.php, view all.php. So here we have entry. Now if you use something like update.php, create.php, if you use something like Laravel will not have all those .php .dat. Laravel can just have as endpoint of create, endpoint of update, endpoint of delete, endpoint of view all. So that is how this API is. Consider this API to be as if they create it in Laravel. So the endpoint here now is this entry and en, while the input will be sent to this word, whereby, for example, if you have a crate, in that crate for the CRUD application is going to take in maybe email, contacts, address. So those input will be in, we replace this word. So let's do it. So the endpoint will be entry/en. So that's where we need an interface to take in all this. And this our request is a get method. So we are going to be using, we'll set public method, public interface. In retrofit we use interface, then we'll just give it a name. Let's call it call dictionary. Call dictionary. Then we'll now use the get method because it's a get request. Then we bring in the entry that we have, which is the endpoint, is this. So we bring them in. We need to remove this first slash because there is already slash at the end of this place already, because it's linking from here to here. So while we leave the slash at the end of en, then we set word. We set the word in between this. Then the next thing we are going to do, we set call, retrofit call. Remember to choose the first one, retrofit call. Retrofit call for the list of API response. Now we are using list of, whereas after the call we still have list. Why are we doing this? We are doing this because everything is in an array. So that's why we bring in list before we bring in the main API response. So we now call it as call meaning. Call meaning. Then we set this. Then inside here, the path, which what we are going to get from the path is referring to the input from the user. We will set a placeholder of word, which is as a word, and set a string of word. Please, if you don't understand, let me know. A string of word. So now the API interface is ready. So we need to use it now. So for us to use this API interface, what we are going to do is that we're going to be creating another method for the API response. We are going to be creating another method to bring in the retrofit call and retrofit call enqueue. So we call this method public void get word meaning. So before then, let's do something. Let's create an onFetch data listener, which is going to this onFetch data listener. Why we are creating this is that let it be like a placeholder for our response. That is the response that we are going to get, like the message, which is error message or successful message. So we are going to create another interface. We are going to create an interface for that. We call it onFetch data listener. onFetch data listener. So this onFetch data listener is going to be having two methods, which is the onFetch data, which will have the API response and the message for the successful message, and the on-error message. So let's do it. So inside here we'll say void, we'll call it onFetched data API response, then string message. Then we create another one for on error. Call it string. We set it as strings of message. Then we come to the get word. We set onFetch data listener. Let's check. Then the next thing is string of. So we set this as word. Then inside here now we can now construct our API response. So we say call call dictionary is equal to, we can bring in the retrofit now, retrofit.create, and inside the create we have call dictionary dot class then we'll now set call as a list of API response. As a list of API response, then we'll call it call is equal to call dictionary that has a retrofit on it dot call meaning. Then we set the word inside and we close it. They will now say call.enqueue new callback So inside here now, it is considered that the response is successful. So we'll now say, what if response is not successful? Response dot is, what if not response successful? That is, response is not successful. Remember that I have not here, this not symbol. So what if response is not successful? We give it a toast toast.makeTest from this context. That is the reason, that is why the context is very, very important. So put error, then else listener dot onFetch data. So set response dot body dot get index of response 0. Then response dot message input, tell us the message. Then on the on error we say listener dot on error. The message is request failed. So I think at this point we are good to go. What is remaining now is to bring in this API response, this request manager, in our main activity before the work will be done. So I will see you in the next video for that. So guys, we are going to make things more interesting now by bringing our response, our request manager, to the main activity. So on the main activity, we are going to bring all the variables, all the things that the data that we need from the main activity, from the main activity.xml, all the things that we have here. We have the search, we have the search view. We also have the Recyclerview. We have the text view word, the meaning, and the Recyclerview meaning. So let's bring everything into the main activity.java. So let's do it. We bring in the search view. Ensure that the search view is the Android X. We call it search view. We bring in text view. We call it text view word. And we bring in the Recyclerview. Call it a Recyclerview phonetics. And also Recyclerview underscore meaning. So let's check it again. Recyclerview word is text view word, text view meaning, Recyclerview phonetics, and Recyclerview meaning. So those are 4 things that we needed. So we have brought them out here. So the next thing we are going to do is we need to have a progress dialog. So we bring in a progress dialog. We call it a loader. We'll just name it as loading. So we are going to bring in remember that there are only 2 Recyclerview needed in this main activity, which are the Recyclerview phonetics and the Recyclerview meaning. Therefore, despite that we have 3 adapters, we only need 2 adapters here, because we need the phonetics adapter and the meaning adapter. And the meaning adapter, the definition adapter is already linked to the meaning adapter. So whenever the meaning adapter is called on the with the Recyclerview meaning, it will link with the definition adapter. Therefore, we just need only Recyclerview phonetics and Recyclerview meaning. So we just need Recyclerview. We just need a phonetic Recyclerview and meaning Recyclerview, whereby the definition Recyclerview is a subject of the meaning Recyclerview, is under the meaning Recyclerview. So hope you understand. So let's do it. So we say phonetics adapter. We call it a phonetics adapter, and meaning adapter, we call it a meaning adapter. So we are going to reference them here. So what we are going to do here is this. We will set progress dialog first. Call it loading is equal to I think let's leave this first. New progress dialog, then this, then loading dot set title loading. I think this is not necessary. What we should do here is that let's reference all other things by the ID. Search is equal to find view by id arrow.id dot, what did we call it? Let's check. It's as if we didn't give any id to it. No id. Word search. Call it word search. Then text view word is equal to find view by id arrow.id dot, what did I call it? What did I? Text view underscore word. Then the next thing is Recyclerview phonetics is equal to find view by id arrow.id dot Recyclerview recycler phonetics. Then Recyclerview meaning is equal to find view by id arrow.id dot recycler meaning. Then I think it's okay. So the next thing we are going to do now is we are going to bring in our unfetched listener into this place before we can get some data. So we'll say public unfetched data listener is equal to new unfetched listener, which will have the API response and string of message and the unfetched data and the on error. So on the unfetched data, at this point it's considered that our request was successful to the database API. So we say if API response is equal to null, if no response was gotten from the database, then the response has been sent to the database, but the database return a null value telling us that it didn't get any information. So what are we going to output to the user? We're going to tell the user, oh please, sorry, what you are searching for is not, it does not exist in the world, because we hope that our application is supposed to fetch the whole information from the earth. But imagine whereby a user typing something that does not exist in the whole universe or in the Google search. So we tell the user, please, sorry, data not found. No data found, but our request was successful, but the data was not there. No such information on the earth. So if successful, if found, what should we do? We tell the API to show to display the data. So we create this method show data, and we input API response as an argument. So we are going to create this method So this method is returning the API response. So for that, on this point, we are going to bring in, we set text word dot set text. So it's going to set the text. We'll call it word, then plus response plus API response dot get word. That is, it should get the word that is typed into the query. So it will show that this word is the meaning. So let's bring in set our recycler view. Recycler view phonetic first. Dot set has fixed size to be true. Set has fixed size to be true. Then Recyclerview phonetics also dot set layout manager. We are going to be using the grid layout. So we set grid layout manager on this context. Then the co-span, the span count should be 1. Then we set, we bring in the phonetics adapter is equal to new phonetics adapter on this context. Then we set API response dot get phonetics. API response dot get phonetics. Then we set Recyclerview phonetics. Recyclerview's phonetics dot set adapter. We set the phonetics adapter. Then we do the same thing for the meaning. We set Recyclerview meaning dot set has fixed size to be true. Then Recyclerview meaning dot set layout manager new grid layout manager on this context and the span count to be 1. Then we bring in the meaning adapter. Meaning adapter is equal to new meaning adapter on this context. Then API response dot get meaning. So this is where we are getting those dot get phonetics and dot get meaning. It's in the API response. The model, the API response model class. So we set recycler meaning dot set adapter meaning adapter. So now all these are set, but how do we get the word from the user? For us to get the word from the user, we need to write the search view like this. On the onCreate, we are going to say search view dot set onQuery listener new onQuery text listener. Then new onQuery text listener Then we set on this on query submit, we set loading, which is an object of the progress dialog, dot set title. We set it as fetching data for plus the query entered by the user. Then loading dot show. Then we bring in the request manager is equal to new request manager main activity dot this. Then manager dot get word meaning, listener, and query should be the arguments. Return true. Please, whatever I don't understand, please comment below. Let me clarify your doubts. So on the onQuery text change, return false. Then on the on error, we are going to set, what are we going to do on the on error? We set loading dot dismiss. Then we set a toast message. This toast message, let it just give us the message from the server. I think everything is alright. So let's test our app. Let's check if we have enabled the internet connection, internet permission. The progress dialog is not showing. Let me check. I think I need to set it here. And it's not showing any message. Let's set loading dot set title. Loading. Or let's just put it as please wait. Let's rerun it again. It's not showing the please wait. Let's remove this show. and bring it down. Oh yes, so it's showing. Saying please wait. Let's see the word that we input there. Okay, there's no word. We need to input word by ourselves. So let's just write programming. Let's search the meaning of programming. It's fetching data for programming. So I think it's showing us. We're supposed to dismiss the progress dialog. Let's check why it's not dismissing it. Okay. So I think it's sounding, but it's not giving us meaning. Let's use let's say lady. Maybe it's still fetching while I stop this thing. Let me write. Showing us the part of speech for the phonetic for programming for lady. Let me use the programming again, or let me just put computer. Let's search for it and wait. Maybe it's our network is somehow slow. I think I'll run it on a array device and see the way it's going to be. So guys, there is this mistake that I made. I supposed to here on the meaning adapter. Correction, reason why the app didn't work. I'm supposed to bring in the definition adapter, set as adapter is equal to new definition adapter. Then on this context, the meaning list.get position.get definition, which is from the meaning model, get definition from the meaning model. Get definition from the meaning model. So that is why the app didn't work. Then I'll now say Recyclerview definition.set adapter. Then I'll set the definition adapter. Then I'll set the definition adapter. So that's why the app didn't work. and also I'll provide the source code. Then also on the meaning, I think the definition, there's some things I need to set. These three things: mark you repeat, limit, mark you forever, ellipse size, mark you, scroll horizontal, true. So those are the things I need to set. So let me rerun the app again so that you will see as it works. So on the app now, and secondly on the main activity, after the response is shown, I will dismiss the progress dialog. So let me just search for the word programming. So once you search for it, the progress dialog will be dismissed. Let's search for it. Once the response is found, the progress dialog will be dismissed. Maybe our network is bad. Let's search again. So you can see it's showing. Let me just click on the sound. You can hear that it's sounding. You can see the definition, part of speech. You can see everything. If you scroll, you will see it. Let's search for another word so that we'll get the synonym, the antonym and synonym. So the antonym is bad, possession or display moral virtue. You can see all the meaning. If you click on the sound. So thank you for sticking around. Thank you for being in this tutorial. Please like the video, share with friends, subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. I need your support. Please subscribe, share with your friends, like it. Thank you. You can request any tutorial of your choice and I'll create it in the comments below. Thank you. Do have a nice day.